campus are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good morning, Burnaby and all surrounding areas. Today is in fact Tuesday. For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Gabe Liesi. Here's your news to 10:30 a.m. Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions Adrian Dix is currently in Prince George to announce a major power project up north. He is joined by Charlotte Mitha, President and CEO of BC Hydro, as well as representatives from KSI LNG. We will look to have more for you about this later in the day. New research shows the major prairie crop canola remains a vulnerable export. This comes despite Canada's recent landmark deal with China on reducing canola tariffs. The analysis from the Simpson Centre at the University of Calgary says canola is over-reliant on two major markets, China and the United States. The paper says both countries absorb nearly 90% of Canadian canola exports, worth billions of dollars. Lead researcher Farzana Shireen says there are limited options to export the crop elsewhere. She points out the government needs to adopt a more long-term strategy.
It's a great news for farmers, the prairie farmers, and ensures cash flow for them, their livelihood. However, for midterm and long-term resilience, we don't want to have that same market concentration and keep the sector vulnerable to sort of retaliatory tariffs or trade policy changes.
Prime Minister Mark Carney reinforced Canada's commitment to Greenland's sovereignty. Carney was speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He says Canada is committed to making the region safe with the assistance of the NATO alliance. This comes hours after U.S. President Donald Trump shared a map showing American flags over Greenland, Canada, Cuba, and Venezuela.
Our commitment to NATO's Article 5 is unwavering. So we're working with our NATO allies, including the Nordic-Baltic Gate, to further secure the alliance's northern and western flanks.
Carney says he strongly opposes tariffs over Greenland and calls for focused talks to achieve the shared objective of security and prosperity in the Arctic. A Supreme Court of Canada hearing is set to continue today into whether random traffic stops by the police are constitutional. Karen Rebo from the Canadian Press has more on what some feel is racial profiling.
Quebec's highest court ruled the practice leads to racial profiling, and its ruling was upheld by Quebec's Court of Appeal in 2024. The case involves a young Montrealer of Haitian descent who says he was repeatedly stopped by police for no apparent reason. Joseph Christopher Luamba says it started shortly after he got his license in 2019, and none of the stops resulted in a ticket. He and the Canadian Civil Liberties Association went to court to challenge the power of police to stop drivers who don't have a reasonable suspicion an offense had been committed. Karen Rebo, the Canadian Press.
An extended bit of weather for you this morning now. We begin with a report from the Insurance Bureau of Canada. The corporation says insured damages caused by severe weather hit $2.4 billion last year. Michelle Zadikian from the Canadian Press explains the diverse weather events that caused the damages.
The Insurance Bureau says the March ice storm in Ontario and Quebec topped the list of most expensive weather events in 2025, followed by May wildfires in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, and storms across the prairies in August. The Bureau's CEO, Celeste Power, says annual costs related to severe weather surpassing $1 billion have become the norm compared with 2 decades ago, when insured losses seldom crossed the $500 million per year level. She says the shift means the country needs to rethink how it builds, plans, and restores communities. Michelle Zadikian, the Canadian Press.
An update now to a story we brought you yesterday morning. An Environment Canada fog warning about near zero visibility across parts of Metro Vancouver and Vancouver Island has been extended into Wednesday. The weather agency says conditions for dense fog continue to persist in the region, stemming from a ridge of high pressure trapping moist air. The warning remains active for much of Metro Vancouver, excluding the North Shore. It includes inland parts of Vancouver Island, including Port Alberni. Environment Canada says the foggy conditions may improve in the afternoon, but will redevelop overnight until another weather system pushes out the high-pressure ridge next week. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Gabe Liessi.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
It's your career, your vision, your goal. Navigate it your way. Flexible learning is designed for you. Learn a new skill or earn a degree at your own pace. BCIT, flexible learning for a complex world.